welcome back to my YouTube channel. For those who don't know me, my name is CharmainShalumb. If you haven't subscribed yet to the channel, what are you waiting for? Please head over and hit the subscribe button. So today I am grateful, excited, and many other things. I am having Libby, Miss Libby, my older sister basically.
Yeah.
I'm having her on my YouTube channel. I mean, this was long overdue, so I was so happy when she said yes. To come and just share a little bit about her story. So Libby, welcome to my YouTube channel.
Thank you.
It's so nice to have you.
It's nice being here.
Yeah, it's nice being here. And soon, no, let me not say too much. let's leave it there. But okay, we're gonna go straight into the content. So Libby, tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, who is Libby?
Oh
Like,
my
who are you?
goodness. Okay, Libby, as it said, it's actually, the full name is Liberty.
Yeah.
Ithete now, formerly Mopopiwa. I think a lot of people know me as Liberty Mopopiwa. I am, my goodness, what can I say? Married for almost 2 years now, after such a long wait, sitting in the front row for so long. But I'm here now. I have, what can I say, served throughout education, training, youth, corporate. Yeah, that's me.
Okay.
A firstborn.
Yeah.
Yes, that's me.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, let's tell us a little bit about your journey. Tell us a little bit about your story. How long was the wait? How long was it for you before the I do? Tell us a
Wow.
little bit about your journey.
The waiting is long, and that length is subject to a lot of things for different people. For me, I consider it having been long because my desire and dream was to get married at the age of 22. I've always dreamed of getting married at 22. I don't know why. And get married at 22, have my first child at 25, and then maybe by 27 or 29 I'm done, and then just start living life with my husband. But of course it didn't happen. God, I don't know if it's lessons that I missed maybe, or it was just not the time. So I've been waiting since I was 25, and then I got married just when I crossed into 40. In my earliest 40s. I'm still in my early 40s. But just to say that because I believed and I had the desire, and I really trusted the scripture where God says that He will give us the desires of our hearts. And a lot of times, I don't know if it's because I desired it so much that I would always see God showing me things, and in dreams God showed me. I saw myself a couple of times at wedding celebrations and myself being in a wedding gown. So I knew that it's somewhere there in front. As to when it would be, I don't know, or I didn't know at the time. But it came. God came through. It came to pass, and I'm here today.
You're married. But tell us about the journey itself. Was it easy waiting?
It's not
and
easy.
How did it feel like seeing maybe people just getting married and you are here waiting? Did you ever feel like, God, it's fine, I'm gonna make it happen for myself? You know, the Abraham.
Oh, Sarah. You know, it's that's what people will tell you. People will tell you, just like Sarah, you must trust. And I think I was maybe a little bit rebellious with that theory, because I'm just like, well, Bible times are different from our times, you know. But just like with anything else in life, when you want something, there's so many emotions, so many feelings that comes with it. Sometimes you feel like you are a failure, and especially because if you are used to be so successful in life, success is defined differently by a lot of people. But when you reach a point where you feel, I'm successful, I've achieved almost everything. Whether it's studies, whether it's career-wise, whether it's material possessions, whether it's position in society, or how you are perceived, especially by your own family. For me, that mattered. My own family mattered. You just feel like a failure. So there are a lot of things that makes you wonder what's wrong with you, that makes you question, and at times even question whether God really has this plan for me. And if it is going to happen, what is it that I first need to go through before I get there? Why do I have to go through all these pains? before I get there. And a lot of the pains are not necessarily because of God, but it's because of this desire that you have. So the desire, if it's a deep desire, you tend to grow anxious, impatient. You tend to question a lot of things. It's not the same for everybody, because not everybody has a deep desire to get married. But when you are desiring something, you tend to go through a lot of challenges. And you have people that are looking up to you. For me, it was even harder because I have younger siblings. As I said earlier, I'm the firstborn. So I have younger siblings that got married even before myself. So I would ask myself, what is it? And then, of course, you have people in the community, friends that will ask you, what's wrong with you? Your brothers and sisters are even coming before you, you know, things like that. Sure. You know, they are coming before you into the marriage club. So you really ask yourself a lot of questions, and a lot of times, you know, also when you are watching movies, especially our beautiful Nigerian movies, where they show you real things that happen as a person, as a believer, and as a spiritual person, as much as you are sure of the power of God, you are also not ignorant of witchcraft. So you start asking all those things. Did maybe somebody do something to you, to me? Maybe sacrifices were performed. You know, really, you go through a lot of questioning, a lot of but more so anxiety, which is not healthy, because with that, it also can lead you into jumping into relationships that are not godly ordained, that are not healthy, and where you also lose yourself a lot. You basically sell yourself short. And for those that are more spiritual, you will say you will sell yourself to the devil, because you give up on the promise that God gave you, in a sense of you want it to happen now. And forgetting that God is about the future, that there is something for you in the future, and especially because He had shown me that it's there. But because of that anxiety, a lot of times I ended up in relationships that were not, I believed, even knew as I was going into these relationships, that they were not godly ordained. But I wanted so much to find my partner, to find not so much a soulmate, but somebody who I would be in agreement with when it comes to issues that concerns marriage. So it's really been a challenge. And then you also have people that are looking up to you. A lot of young women that were looking up to me, that see that she's successful in certain areas, you know, then they also wonder that, okay, I like Libby, she has this sort of standing in society. They admire the way you look, the way you carry yourself, but why is she not getting married? So maybe if I also carry myself like that, maybe my marriage will also be delayed. So being born again in a secular society is both a blessing, and others may view it as a curse. So it's really been a challenge. So every now and then you fall off the wagon, but then I always believe that once you know God, you had an encounter, your first encounter with God, you always come back. God will always bring you back. God will always remind you that as much as you are falling, as much as you are in this world that is full of challenges, where you are even made to feel inadequate, where you start even feeling that you are not enough, then you will fall. But you have to keep your head up and trusting that there is a future, because God is about the future. So it hasn't really been easy.
What would you say was your lowest point in the journey? What was like the lowest point where you're just like, God, I waited enough? Or did you have many of those?
I had the main one when I gave up my virginity. Because I waited, you know. I've been telling myself that I'm keeping myself for this husband, and this husband is not coming. So when I was turning 30, or just when I turned 30, I gave it up. I'm like, God, I've been waiting since I was 22. This husband is not coming. Maybe I'm not meant to get married. Maybe all these pictures and all these wedding pictures that I have in my mind, maybe I'm just fixated. Maybe I'm really just maybe I'm not getting the message, the correct message. So that was really my lowest. And I told myself that I'm gonna find somebody who I would not be emotionally attached to. sort of telling myself to avoid soul tying. But of course, I lied to myself. There will always be that soul tie. So that was really it. And then, of course, a few years after that, I came to a point where I was like, maybe I should just have a baby. Yeah, meet a guy, have a baby, or maybe look at an ex-boyfriend that we had a great understanding with, had a great relationship with, that respected me. Maybe I should go back to that guy and have a baby. I even started having conversations with this guy. But then this guy is like, okay, but we have to do it naturally. I'm like, no, I'm not going to sleep with you. So there were many days, many times, and many years where you find yourself, there are just those happy days, those happy moments where you feel, I just heard from the Lord now. It's coming. And then you had those other low moments, low days, where the devil basically whispers to you that you are wasting your time. This is not going to happen. Just give it up. Go on with your life. But then, like I said, once you've had an encounter with God, that voice always comes back. God will always remind you of the promises that he has made you. And just as he said that we should remind him, he also reminds us. It's a matter of just keeping an ear and a heart open to constantly be reminded of his word. So, yeah.
And then when the year that you met your husband, how was that experience for you?
Oh, wow. the irony of...
Were you waiting that year, or was it just like...
Yes, it was one of those years where I decided, I had made a decision early on, like maybe a year or two before that, where I had a conversation with God, and I said, God, this is it. The guy that comes next, he better comes with a marriage proposal in his hands. I took a trip to Nigeria. It was in fact the year I turned 40. So for my 40th birthday celebration, I took a trip. I spent a week in Ghana. I spent about 2-3 weeks in Nigeria, and I was just having a ball. And when I went, I was like, maybe that's where my husband is. But God kept saying, no, that's not where your husband is. And I was just like, well, God, I'm just going to go and find out. If I meet somebody there, that person must come with a proposal. We're getting married. I went. I spent the time that I spent there for my birthday. Did not meet anybody. I met people that I would consider friends today. They were good to us. They hosted us well. Really had a great time. But I didn't meet anyone. I did not meet anyone. I came back home, and the end of that year, just 2 days before the year ended, this man he came knocking. It's somebody that I've been in conversations with, but nothing to do with relationships or marriages. It's just a man that I've always been sharing scriptures with, who will always share the word. But in that particular year, 2 days before the year ended, he came to me to visit me at my house. And we started talking. And the following day, he's like, you know what? I think I want to get married to you.
Wow.
And I was like, okay. But funny enough, this man was actually my student at the university where I used to lecture a few years before that. One of those students that we never got along. No, it was not for marks. It was not for marks. It was really just one of those students that we never got along. Personality clashes, if you may. And 10 years later, God actually, he found God, and God actually asked him. Basically, God, I don't know what word to use, but God asked him to come and look for me and to apologize for all those clashes that we had. But even then, from that apology, we never really thought anything beyond a brotherly relationship, a Christian brotherly relationship. It's just somebody that I would always share scriptures with, now and then we'll share a Christian movie. He's in IT, so he will download movies for me. And it went on like that for, I think, about 2 years. Until we came to that 2 days before the end of that year, which I'm not going to mention. Before he actually then proposed that he wanted to get married to me. So it's been an interesting journey. Before those 2 days, before the end of the year, he had just finished his exam for his bachelor's degree, and I helped him with a subject that he struggled with some years back, and as in a way to celebrate that he was now done with his studies, we went out for dinner again, just a casual dinner, and there was nothing to it really. And then 2 months later, now 2 days before the end of the year, we were having this conversation, and it led to where we are today.
Wow, that's really nice.
Yeah.
So what kept you what kept your faith during that season? And did you go through a lot of judgments?
Oh yeah, I went through a lot of judgment. I was called all sorts of names, and especially because a lot of people knew that I've been born again for the longest. I've been born again since I was 21. It was a thing of, where is this God that she serves? And I remember when I started hearing that, then my prayer changed. Like, I started crying out to God that, Father, why should I go through the mockery, when I'm serving a living God, a God that delivers? When are you going to come through for me and take away this shame? Because what I was desiring is within your will. You want us to get married. It's not that I'm just crying to serve I don't know what kind of need. But then later I also realized that I was idolizing the idea of being married, that somehow I sort of lost focus on serving the Lord. So what kept me going, again, like I said earlier, it was just that constant reminder. Every time that Christ comes back to you, that God comes back to you, and then he whispers in your ears that, my child, I have a future for you. And then also because there was no pressure from my parents, especially from my father. There was no pressure. You know how moms are. They want to become grandmothers. But dad was very patient. I remember the one time I had this deep conversation with my father. And then my father was like, it's okay. Yes, your brother and sister that are younger than you are married before you, but it's okay. Everybody has their own time. That's what my father told me. And my father said, don't allow all of these things that people are saying and people's expectations, because people had expectations on me, their own expectations upon my life. He told me that that's not for you. That's for them. You be you, you live you, and you be what you believe God is guiding you to. Live that journey. It hasn't been easy, really. It was very difficult, but because, again, I have that that constant reminder of the promises that was made, it kept me going. Some days I'll fall, I'll be up, but I kept going. I kept going. And then, the one thing that was really most difficult for me was when I had to encourage young women to keep themselves, to be kept women, as it is said today, to keep themselves. And for them was like, but how does she do it? I mean, she's older than us. She's telling us to keep ourselves. She kept herself, but she's not getting married. So maybe we're also going to get stuck in that. But I would still continue with that message. Even in my deepest times of sinning, I kept telling them to keep themselves.
Very good.
To keep themselves. So I think that kept me going, because I think I've always had this belief that God wants to use me to encourage young women. But my thing was, I believe that God wanted to do that when I'm married. So it could be that I missed the message, that maybe I've also missed opportunities then to talk to young people. I did my part, I believe, although it wasn't sufficient. And then I also did it with blemishes because I was living in sin. But I've done it. And I believe now, maybe I can, not maybe, but surely now I can do it with more confidence, because I know now that I'm within the pattern that God requires
of you,
or requires of me.
And has there been any regrets in the process? Or any great regrets? Did you change something? Did you change the clock?
Not really. Not really. Of course, my dream, like I said, to get married at 22. If I could turn back the clock, I would still want to get married at 22. But that's not how God works. That's not how God works. God's plans are a lot of times beyond our understandings.
Yeah.
And a lot of times when we look back, you then realize that these things that we cry for, that we desire for, we were actually not prepared for that.
Yeah,
I know now that had I gotten married at the age of 22, I would have gone through a lot of challenges. I really do think that I might even have gone through a divorce, because I realize every day now that I wasn't mature.
Yeah.
I was not ready for marriage at the age of 22. I was not ready for marriage at the age of 30. And yes, maybe I was ready at the age of 35, but that wasn't God's calendar for me to get married at the time. But I'm here now. So yeah.
So what would you tell your younger self?
Just to hold on, and to keep on course with the Lord. It's not easy, but it pays out. It pays off. I look at a lot of young girls around me, my little sisters that I came to meet in the Lord, and you kept fighting. You held on to that big goal because God had given you that dream. God had given you that vision. God showed you yourself in a bridal gown. You saw that, and a lot of girls see that. So I would tell them to just hold on to that, because a lot of us see that vision at a very young age. To just hold on to that,
not to lose it.
And not to give up ourselves to be loved or to be liked or to be accepted. The world will like you regardless, or the world will dislike you. And if the world is expecting you to give up yourself or to change for them to like you, then they were never gonna like you. They are not going to like you. It will always be momentary. So the best is really just to hold on to who you are, to who God has shown you you are, and to hold on to your destiny. Don't allow destiny stealers or destiny thieves into your life. Manage that. Pray for God to show you who should be in your life and who should not be. So I would tell my young self to just hold on.
And what would you tell like women that are waiting, that in the process of waiting, and they feel like it's just too long? I've waited. It's just I thought it was gonna come this year, but this year is past. I'm still single.
Hold on and be honest with yourselves. There will be those days when you are broken. Cry. I used to cry like rolling on the floor, like asking God, what have I done? I'm not saying ask God what you have done, but if a conversation comes to that with God, have it. God will show you. And don't always think that it's something that you have done. Don't always think that there's something wrong with you. It's more easier, and it's the burden is much more eased when you trust that God is doing something. God is doing something, and to not compare yourself with others. I think the greatest pain comes through comparisons. When you start asking yourself, all my peers are married, all my peers have children. The moment you start comparing yourself, with that, it makes a burden, even the yoke becomes heavy. It becomes really heavy, because now you have expectations that on which time you are basing is on other people's times. That's not your calendar. So let us stop having expectations. Let us stop basing our expectations on others. It is okay to have expectations. God says we should be expectant. But let your expectations be in God, and for you to rather have peace. It's also not easy, but there will be moments where God will always comfort you, where He will show you which moments or what is it that you should be doing to give you peace. And go on holidays, live, travel, go see the world. You'll be surprised at where you are going to meet that person. Whether you are a guy, a lady, there are many men that are also waiting, that wish they had gotten married at a certain time to a certain person with certain character traits. And they met this person and it didn't work out, and they are almost giving up. It's not just women that are waiting. There are also men out there who desire to be married, and they really want to be married to fulfill God's to fulfill that expectation of God. So it's not just women. So whoever you are that is expecting or that is waiting, be expectant. That expectation will be fulfilled. And if God has not doesn't have marriage on the cards for you, ask God to give you peace. Just like Apostle Paul had asked God to take away the thorn. I really don't know what that thorn was. Ask God to take away that thorn. Because when something is such a deep desire to the extent where you become anxious, then it becomes a thorn. It becomes a thorn in your life, a thorn in your flesh. Ask God to remove that thorn. I remember one friend, she would say, but God gave me these feelings. Why is he not fulfilling them? I found myself in that stage also where I was saying, God, you gave me these feelings. You gave me this desire. I'm asking you to fulfill this desire. But if this desire is not of you, God, if it is not from you, then remove it. Then remove it. God said we must bring our cases to him. We must debate with him. Somewhere in Isaiah, he says that. So bring your cases to God. Contest with God in conversation. But just have a spirit of humility and an open heart and an open spiritual mind for you to understand when God is saying yes, when he's saying no, and when he's saying just wait a little bit. Just wait a little bit. And yes, a little bit for you, maybe 10 years, but in God's sight, it's probably just a day. And I know that is cliched, but that is the reality.
That's the truth of it.
You might wait for 10 years. Other people are waiting for 20 years. But as long as God has given you the vision, hold on. And if God has not given you the vision, but you have the desire, again, speak to him. Because first of all, he said he will give us the desires of our hearts. But he said we must first seek his kingdom. But if your desire is not aligned to God's will, ask him to remove the thorn.
Okay. So everyone, thank you so much for coming to my channel and just sharing your experience, your journey, and just this has been such a, I mean, I've heard the story, but I mean, listening to it again is so refreshing again. So I want to thank you so much for watching. Everyone that has watched, thank you so much. Please do subscribe. Please do share the video with anyone and everyone that needs to hear this. And I love what she said, you wait with expectation, and you know that your waiting is not in vain. That God does give us the desires of our hearts. It might not be like Nestle when we want it to be, but he does come through. And when he comes through big. I can testify with you as well. He came through for you very, very big. So yes, thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe and please do share. Is there any last words from you before we close off?
Oh, not really, but maybe just to say, keep living. Really, there is so much in the living. Life is for the living after all. And just living that you have a purpose and you have a destiny, and God has. That's a promise he made. He has to fulfill that destiny. But he can only do it with you involved. And be aligned to his will. Absolutely perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Libby, and thank you all for watching. Till the next video. Cheers. Bye. Cheers.